Hello, everybody. This is Kip from America Bumper to Bumper. How's everybody doing tonight? We're back for another live stream of random car news and stories. Chatting with whoever decides to pop on and um, talk about whatever. Also talk about the state of the channel, how things are looking. Um, yeah, we're gonna do it like we normally do. So we're gonna give a couple more minutes. We'll give a minute while. Hey, Nacho, Dad, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you hopping on board. So we'll give a minute. Hey, Doug, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. Really appreciate you being here. Um, so yeah, I got a haircut. Yeah, raised the earlobes. Now it was getting way too shaggy, and with the potential of a new job coming, hopefully in the next week or so, I had to start looking a little bit better. But we'll see how that all goes. All right, so state of the channel really quickly. We're still sitting at 280 subscribers. Lost one, then gained one from yesterday's live stream with Six Fan and Old Car Guy. So thank a lot. Here you with a trimming beard. Yeah. Yeah, the beard got trimmed because of the one job I was potentially getting was in a restaurant, and they said that I couldn't have anything over a quarter inch in length, but we'll see. Hey, Classic, thanks for coming on in here. Appreciate it. From some machine shop in Dallas. Love me. Hey, Lane, how are you? Thanks for coming in. This is great having everybody here. As I said, state of the channel, 280 subscribers. We're at a total of 51,987 total views on the channel. The Ford Fusion video, for how well has it held up, has been getting some decent views for the channel, and I'm very appreciative of that. Hey, neighbor Meg, thanks for stopping in as well. I'm so happy to have you guys all here. We're going to get into some news and whatnot, and this is stuff for Twisted Racing, Twisted R Racing on YouTube. For another, Doug, is that another live stream later? Anyways, if you are a child of the 70s, grew up in the 80s, then a real big show, especially if you're a car freak, would have been, well, there's tons of them, but one of them would have been Miami Vice. This report is from Motor1.com, and if you guys remember that Sonny Crockett, Don Johnson's character on the show, lived on a 38-foot Wellcraft Scarab, you can now own for $20 million. Stream Friday night, Twisted R Racing. Okay, I'll check that out when we get done here. Thanks for that plug. Anyways, you can now purchase that the boat that was used in the Miami Vice television show for a cool $20 million, and you get what they are saying is one of the Ferrari Daytona Spider replicas that was used in the show. I kind of question that a bit because the last I had heard, there were two cars, and for you guys that don't know, the early cars that they used, the Daytona Spiders, were replicas built on C3 Corvette chassis. Ferrari did not like the fact that they were using fake Ferraris on their show. So when they switched, I don't know if it was a year or two later, to the Testarossas, those were cars that Ferrari gave the production company for Miami Vice, and the only stipulation of getting those cars is they had to destroy the fake ones. So, to Fanatic, you will get subscribers there. Okay, I will check that out too. Knight Rider and Dukes of Hazzard definitely were great shows as well. But anyway, as I was saying, as far as I was aware, there were two of the fakes, the Daytona Spiders, and both of those were destroyed so that they could get the Ferrari Testarossa from the Ferrari Corporation or Ferrari Automobile. So when this story says that you can get one of those cars that was in the story or in the show, I'm a little leery of that. But then again, maybe there was more, and maybe they didn't actually destroy all of them. Anyways, so if you've got a cool 20 million hanging around, you can get the 38-foot Scarab and a replica Daytona Spider. In pony car news, Ford is hinting that there is going to be a more powerful EcoBoost engine in the Mustang. The EcoBoost is the 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that the Mustang has. It's used in lots of different cars other than the Mustang. The EcoBoost that is in currently, from what I am reading through this story, there's two varieties. You've got the Ecotec, and then you've got the GT that's got the V8. According to documentations filed with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there's looking to be a mid-range Mustang coming into the 2020 model year, and it's going to be it still have the turbocharged 4-cylinder 2.3, but it's going to have higher output. And according to the story, this is kind of to try and get Mustang having three varieties, kind of like the Camaro, as far as power outputs. The V6 version of the Camaro pumps out about 335 horsepower, which is a far improvement from the 1986 Camaro, the V6 that I had, which was the 2.8 liter, and that had, I think, 130, no, probably not even that much, maybe about 130 horsepower. That's even way more than Zelda has. Zelda, I think, is about 150. Excuse me. So there's going to be the base model with the EcoBoost that will be putting about 310 horsepower out. Then there's going to be a mid one. They're thinking somewhere around the 335 mark, maybe a little bit more to give it a little bit up on the. You can get any model you want as long as it's a Mustang. Well, that is definitely true. Coming up. I'm still amazed at what Ford's doing with their product planning. But anyways, so yeah, there's plenty of room money wise to do this. The base Mustang is about 26 grand, and the cheapest V8 model is about 35. So if they put in a little bit more horsepower and throw it in there somewhere around 29, yeah. So expect in 2020 that you will be able to get a 2.3 EcoBoost with a little bit more horsepower. This is a Toyota story. This came from Motor Trend. I did see it in another one, another magazine website. There's some questions and rumors that the TRD line was going to go away, but Toyota has said that is not the case, and a lot of this comes from the fact that the Supra is called the GR Supra, which the GR stands for Gazoo Racing. Gazoo Racing is kind of what TRD is for the rest of the world. We get TRD, and the rest of the world gets Gazoo Racing. So the head of the North American general manager of Toyota North America has said TRD is here to stay in the U.S. Gazoo Racing is really not gonna be anything big other than with the Supra, so no needs to worry about that. And they are really going to town with the TRD. The fact that you can get a TRD Avalon, that blows my mind, because when I'm thinking of Avalon, I don't think of anything that's sporty. I think luxury and comfortable. And the same thing with the Camry. I mean, you kind of got a little bit of a I think what the sportier one is in the lineup. The XSE is a little bit sportier, but even then, none of Toyota's cars other than the 86 and the new Supra coming out is any sort of sporty, fun. Okay, I have to go back again. When I did work for Toyota, the 6-speed Corolla, that was a interesting car to drive around, but I'm not going to say it was a fun. I mean, anything with a 6-speed, is a great, car, and you can make it fun, but it's still, I mean, it's a Toyota Corolla. The great cars, last forever as long as you take care of them, but that's about it. But yes, Toyota TRD is not going anywhere according to this report. Another seems to be lots of revivals of older nameplates and variants and all this other sort of stuff. Dodge is kind of getting on board. They had the Power Wagon, which I don't think they've had that over the past few years, but that was something that was, bigger in the 80s and maybe early 90s. Something else that they're bringing back for 2019, it's going to be called the Ram 1500 Classic Warlock. Now, Warlock is a name that Dodge had on their pickups. Hey Pete, thanks for stopping in. Thank you. Really appreciate you stopping in and wasting some time with us. So the Warlock was kind of like an option on the trucks, and it was for the 70s. It was 77 is when you could get a Warlock option. It was a lot like the Little Red Express. Except this was black, gold stripes, gold wheels, wood bed stakes. It's actually a pretty cool little thing. Dodge better not bring back the Barracuda unless they bring back Plymouth. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Plymouth, with the amount of trouble that Chrysler and Dodge are having in selling cars anyways, there's no way that they're going to bring back Plymouth. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to get used to the fact that of saying Dodge Barracuda, which still is not a high point with me. So anyways, this 2019, it's not going to be anything close to the Warlocks of 77. The basically only thing that you are going to be getting for a Warlock truck is custom hood, unique sports hood. Standard kit includes powder-coated bumpers, 1-inch factory lift, and Warlock decals. It wears the aggressive Ram grille and 20-inch wheels coated in semi-gloss black paint for a darker look. To that end, the entire truck is given a monochromatic makeover that pretty much eliminates all vestiges of chrome. So it's kind of like the midnight edition for the Chevys. I think that it's unfortunate. So I'll get you a picture. They really don't have to bring back Plymouth. Yeah. So this is the new Warlock. And I gotta say, it doesn't do anything for me. I think that they should keep some of this classic stuff in our memories. But anyways, gotta look back what you had posted there, Pete. Ugly, yeah. They really don't have to bring back the Plymouth to build the Barracuda. It could be under. Yes, I mean that is a very good point, Pete. SRT really should be a brand of its own, and it should be. When they bring back the Viper, if and when they bring back the Viper, because I guess that's still in the works. And yeah, any of the you should have the Challenger, the Charger, and then anything that's different from that. It shouldn't be a Challenger or Charger. It should be the same body style, but a different name under the SRT branding. Just my 2 cents. Now this is not a great sign of the times ahead. According to Car and Driver, 7 million Americans are delinquent on auto loans, and that could be a really bad sign. Think about the impressive number of $1.3 trillion. That's the total amount of auto loan debt in the United States today, representing a $584 billion increase over the level in 2010. Breaking that down. Hello. Hi. I don't know if your sister's still on, but she was there chatting on and off. So, Lainey, if you're here. But yes, they're saying that people are. Yeah, there she is. Hey. So lots of people are delinquent on their auto loans, and that is not a good thing. So we'll have to see if that's gonna bye mean disaster for the economy at some point, kind of like the housing bubble. But I think that the amount of money that's tied up in auto loans is a lot. It's a lot different than the amount of money that's tied up in car loans.
Is my girl on?
Well, she was here. There she is.
Hi, baby. Hello. I love you.
Did I take the SRT separate brand over Dodge? Yeah. I do agree with both of you guys on that.
Yeah, I read this article the other day, and that's pretty alarming and staggering.
Yep. We've been in that club on and off, throughout the time.
Yep.
But hopefully we'll have to worry about that much longer if I get a damn job. Okay, a couple of recall notices. Hey, dog. I really wish I didn't have any car loans. It would make life a whole lot easier, not having to worry about where you're going to come up with $350 every month. But currently, our current car is we're very upside down in it and don't really have a whole lot of and then definitely add insurance because you have to have, I don't know where about in Texas, but here in Vermont we have to have full coverage if we have a loan. So it's even that much more. Liability insurance here is stupid cheap, unless you got, of course, a bunch of wrecks on. Coverage, yeah, it kind of makes sense if the banks want to make sure that they're going to get their money, should something happen, accident wise. So the first, both of these recalls are Honda Acura related. The first one is for the Honda Ridgeline, and I like the headline reads. Honda Ridgeline recalled because car wash soap may break it. And this is from motor1.com. And 106,683 trucks are potentially affected. And what's happening is okay. Not everything is perfect. However, the company has to inspect the 106,000. Might sound like a pretty common service recall in the industry, but the reason is way different this time. It has nothing to do. I don't like the Ridgeline either, especially the earlier ones that you could definitely tell it was a unibody vehicle. The newer ones, I kind of give them a little bit of slack because it does, even though it is still a unibody, no separate bed on it. At least they make it kind of look like it does. But anyways, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says that exposure to acids, including car wash soaps, may result in the fuel pump feet port cracking, thus increasing the risk of fire. So they does it give 2018, 17, and 18 are the ridge lines that are affected in this. So if you have a ridge line, you might want to go get that looked at, or stop washing your car. The other Honda recall is for potential stall issues, and this one is for 437,000 Acura MDX SUVs, TLX V6 cars, and Honda Accord V6. Because the gasoline flow from fuel pumps could slow to the point that the vehicle stalls, increasing the risk of crash. They're not aware of any injuries or crashes from this. Big Ford recall as well. I didn't see a new recall on the Fords. I'll have to take another look at that and see what's going on. What was it for? And see if I can pull that up quickly. But anyways, according to the automaker, the presence of sodium particles in some gasolines can cause the fuel pump to slow down. And this is mainly an issue in warm weather states, so southern states, Texas, Arizona, California, that sort of stuff. Now, the cars that are affected, 2016, 17, and 18, built in certain time frames. 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 TLX V6s, and 15, 16, 15 to 17 Accords. So might want to get those checked out if you are an owner of one of those cars. All right, for all you guys who are NASCAR fans, this weekend, I believe it's this weekend, is the Daytona 500. I don't really follow NASCAR much anymore. I was big into it in the 80s and 90s when, in my opinion, the racing was far superior and the cars looked better and the drivers were more recognizable and whatnot. Anyways, according to Yahoo Sports, it's the end of an era. Sunday's Daytona 500 is the last restrictor plate race. And for everybody that doesn't know, restrictor plates have been in use in NASCAR for over 30 years. They went into effect in 1988 or 88. And it was mainly because at Daytona and Talladega, the speeds were getting way too high, and the accident risk, especially with the one that happened to Bobby Allison in 87, they decided they needed to slow the cars down. So they figured out putting in a restrictor plate would do that, and they actually did. In 87, this is just for a little bit of background info. Bill Elliott won the pole position at the 500 with a top speed of 210 miles per hour. He then set the NASCAR record for the fastest lap at Talladega a couple months later with a pole position of 212.809. Now, after they put in the restrictor plates for the 88 racing season, Ken Schrader, who was in the pole for that particular race, didn't break 194 miles an hour. 194, still pretty damn fast, but didn't. It brought the speeds down enough that the fears of them flying away, especially this was before they had all the flaps, that come up when you go backwards. Real smart moves. Rather than having one car and one person in an accident, it's better to have 20. Yeah, right. That's the other thing that gets me with today's NASCAR racing. But according to a quote by Kyle Busch, there's still going to be restrictor plates. They're just going from an actual plate to a tapered spacer. Lost your. Yeah, I've been to the Daytona racetrack, but only for car show meet. Yeah, I mean, I've never been. I've been by Daytona. I was in Daytona once for Bike Week. Drove by, the track. Never been there. I was a fan of NASCAR back, Dale Earnhardt, back in those days, but after he unfortunately died, I think the sport kind of wasn't the same that it was before. He was kind of the bad boy, of it. Really just made it interesting. I can't remember if it's F-150 truck has a recall. Okay, Pete, I'll check that out in a second. See if I can pull something up and see what the F-150 is. Originally from Florida. Huh. I had family that lived in down in Florida for a while, so I've been there a few times. So anyways, the restrictor plate as we know it is gone, but there is a tapered spacer that basically is going to do the same thing, but they aren't calling it restrictor plate, so they're saying this is the last of the era. Let's see. Now, this is a kind of an interesting, very interesting looking rig that I found. Not a big NASCAR fan, but I'm close to Bristol. I've been there a few races. Crap. Drag race, Thunder. Oh. See, I'm much more interested in drag racing. Even though it's over in mere seconds, just the amazing horsepower that they, especially in a top fuel dragster, that they get out of these engines. The horsepower, the speed is just mind blowing. All right, so I got to show you this Jeep. Oop. The CJ10. Did you guys ever know about CJ10? Because I didn't until I saw this particular article on Jalopnik. Go back. Okay. So the CJ10, in a lot of respects, was they call it a hideous monster. But it was a square headlight Wrangler before the square headlight Wrangler even came out. But what this actually is, yeah, I'd drive it too. I think it's pretty cool. This is based on the CJ10, CJ7. Crap. I had that somewhere in the story here. Yeah, it was kind of a cross between the CJ7 and the J10 pickup trucks. They basically, it's a kind of CJ front end with most of a CJ sitting on the chassis of the J10 pickup trucks. these were never sold, from what I was reading through this article. They were never sold in the U.S. They were export. The one that white one is a right-hand drive, came from Australia, and that's where most of these things went. There also were used by the U.S. government on Air Force bases. They were used for tugs, like this one here. So it's kind of a weird Jeep, that a pickup truck, and it's kind of interesting now that the Gladiator is getting closer and closer to being on sale. You're getting all these really odd Jeep stories and odd Jeep vehicles. The guy I knew had it shipped to Africa. I mean, yeah, that was a thing. There's, like I say, from what this story says, they were never officially sold in the U.S., but now with the 25-year thing, a lot of them are coming back over and being built up to that, like that white one, which is, I think, pretty damn nice looking. No, I'm going to do that. All right, I'm going to go back to something I've done a couple other times in other videos. Is I talk about some other YouTuber videos that I've seen recently that I just thought were pretty interesting. If you guys aren't subscribed to Haggerty Insurance, they have a channel, and they'll do some other, a few things here and there that really don't catch my interest, but they have one show on there that I think is just really, really awesome. It's called Barn Finds. Barn Finds, they've been doing it, I think, a little over 2 years. Barn Find Hunter. Yeah, I knew I forgot something in there. Anyways, so gentlemen, see if I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You Get There magazine, yes. Anyways, the Barn Find Hunters movie. No. He goes around the country and looks at, well, as it says, barn finds. Sometimes they're not in barns. Sometimes they're out in fields. Sometimes they're tucked in old abandoned car dealerships. All sorts of things. The latest one, which was uploaded a week ago, he was in, I believe, North Carolina, and a gentleman apparently has a barn full of some very interesting cars. Wasn't really interested in showing that, but they did let him walk around the property, which had just a plethora of really interesting, cool cars that are all rotting away. And it is, hey, Straight Six, thanks for coming in. I'm sorry, I blanked your name. I was Grant. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you stopping by. So Barn Find Hunter looked over all sorts of different cars that are going back to Mother Earth. And then there's one car that he was able to look at that was underneath the carport, so it's kind of protected. It was a Di Tommaso Pantera. It was an earlier model because it's the I have a spreadsheet to help me remember real names. Oh, you know what? That's a really good idea. I should probably do that as well. I definitely need to start doing that. Thanks, Grant. Anyways, this Pantera is just like all the other cars. They're just rotting away. Somewhere there might be a leak in the roof of the carport or whatever, and there's rust, and there's said at this point cars not worth putting all the money into trying to get it, anywhere near back to the road. But I gotta say, if you guys don't watch the Barn Find Hunter, I really suggest you guys do that. It's a great show. Tom, I think, is the host's name. He is very knowledgeable on his cars, and I would absolutely love to do the same sort of thing. Hey, Jason, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you taking the time to stop in and say hi. Other channels that I watch a lot lately. Hey, what's Cletus McFarland doing these days? He's doing a lot of stuff with Ruby. He did a couple days ago had a without racing. Yes, Barn Find Hunter is the Haggerty one. Is, as I said, really, it's one of my most favorite things on all of YouTube right now. So yeah. So anyways, Cletus has been doing a lot with the auction Corvette. If you haven't looked at that, I would hop over there, and it's very interesting. They bought a C6 Corvette that had a 5.3 pickup truck engine in it. They built a turbocharged setup for it, completely destroyed the engine after a couple of passes, bought another truck engine. The guy is absolutely... the knowledge that he pulls out of his, yep, Cletus. So it's got a bunch of Ruby videos. They blew up the engine. They put another engine in it. Put a power glide trans in it. Really is kind of an amazing thing. But the last video I saw of his was where he actually was hired by another smaller YouTuber to drive their Freedom Bald Eagles and Hearse Purrs. Yep. I know he doesn't do the Hearse Purrs. That's a donut thing. But so anyways, roll racing in a 1,000 horsepower Toyota Supra, and beat just about everybody that was there. Do it for Dale. That's right. And don't forget the Bartle Skeets. So actually, there's a few videos I need to catch up with him. What else? Chevy Dude is getting sued. I watched most of that video. He says he's kind of being trolled. It's frivolous, so we'll have to see how that all ends up. I also watch some of Hoovie's Garage. Hoovie, for guys who don't follow him, lives in Kansas, near Wichita, I guess, and he just buys random weird cars, and some of them started, I think, doing a lot of cheap stuff, but then as his apparently, Pete, from what I understand with for the Chevy Dude getting sued, he attended a seminar from a individual, didn't say who, and didn't buy into what the guy was, for lack of a better word, selling, and had apparently made a few posts way back. He said, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago that he did this. But apparently, a Facebook post, he had a screenshot of their website and said something that apparently the other person found demeaning and degrading, and sent him a 239-page lawsuit. Anyways, if you want to know more, go over to Chevy Guy or Chevy Dude and watch the video. I watched most of it, and at that point, it's like I don't really need to know a whole lot more because there wasn't really a whole lot more to say. Yeah, Tyler Hoover at Hoovie's Garage. Latest video he put out. He bought a DeLorean not too long ago. Needed a whole bunch of stuff: new transmission, fuel and brake lines, I believe, fuel pump, a whole bunch of stuff. It was been at the Wizard shops, and he just in the video he uploaded earlier today got to drive it in its finished form with useful brakes and a transmission that actually shifts, and fuel pump that actually works. And I said it's fun to drive, but it's nowhere near fast because it's sporting all original parts. I mean, the transmission is they bought a different transmission for it, but it's still an original to when the cars were first produced. Got the Renault, I believe it's a Renault or maybe a Peugeot engine, in it. That being an 80s car, 80s cars didn't have any sort of horsepower, and that was a definite there. I've watched a couple of the Car Wizard, and I think I probably suffer the same thing from him. He seems very monotone in his delivery, and I can't quite get into it. And I think that's might be part of my problem too. And maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm not as monotone as I think. But anyways, enough disparaging stuff about me. What else we got? Of course, watch a lot of Old Car Auto Guy, Straight Six fan. Those are great. And Camaro Time's great too. Yeah. Shameless plugs. Hey, got to put them in there. Struggling 4 years now. It's still a struggle. Yeah. It's hard to get your... It's really hard unless you got a lot of equipment and the microphones and all this other stuff to really get yourself out there. I mean, some guys have really figured out, like I say, Cletus and Vehicle Virgins and Street Speed 717. These guys are all in a way they're all crazy, and I'm just not as crazy yet. I need a lot more subscribers to get that crazy. So let's see what else. Coming up for the channel, gonna go probably beginning of the week, and do another how has it held up, or how well is it held up video. Don't know what car I'll do there. Use my radio voice for most videos. That's a really good. My daughter thinks that I should do voices. Hey, Grant, thanks for stopping in. Really appreciate you coming in, and definitely, as he says there, if you guys haven't, you just need to learn how to clickbait. Clickbait. Yeah, they're masters of clickbait, especially Street Speed 717. Yeah. Anyways, with the how well is it held up videos, I don't know ahead of time what car I'm going to be looking at. I just walk in, they hand me some keys, and then I go and do the video. So we'll see what they give me next week. So that'll be coming up. I'm also going to be doing a video, something that's been kind of weighing on me this time of year with all the tax return time. Part of what I did in my previous job, they also have great camera presence, that is very true, was trying to help people get the best car they could for the money they had. Steering away, people away from things like buy here, pay here. Unless you absolutely have to do it, definitely shouldn't. So I'm going to do up a video all related on how to try and how to best use your tax return money to get yourself the best possible vehicle for your needs. So I think I'll probably be doing, videoing that tomorrow, and maybe having that up Sunday or sometime early next week, because it is a struggle, especially if you're a lower income person, and you're especially in, or where I am in Vermont, you have to have a car. I mean, some of the bigger cities, have decent public transportation, but if you're in any of the outer areas, if you don't have a car, you don't have a job, you don't have anything. So, and a lot of people will buy the cheapest car they can, which is down the rabbit hole of bad decisions. So, I'm gonna do that video up, and we'll see how that one does. Really don't have anything else for you guys tonight, unless you guys start jumping in, and we'll do some conversation through the lives, through the comment stream. But if not, give you guys a couple minutes to throw any comments or anything in there. Otherwise, we're gonna. I've bought probably 20 cars from buy here, pay here places, and I've found that 1 in 20 is a decent place, and that is about true. Every now and again, you will find an okay buy here, pay here. But in reality, those guys are probably 1 in 99. I did a buy here, pay here a couple of times from a guy, but I knew him before I even bought cars from him. I knew he was, we knew each other. He knew I was in a bad spot, and he was willing to work with me. But, a lot of places here, inspections are pretty tough up north. In Florida, we have no. Yes, inspections here in Vermont suck bad. They 2 years ago updated the inspection process. Taking a deal with a crossroad demon. Yep. That is very true. So anyways, inspections, they updated kind of how they did them now. Instead of it all being done on paper, it's done with a tablet system. The state really, in my opinion, screwed themselves, because for about 18 months, they allowed cars that, not bad, but I miss Florida, no inspection whatsoever. Yeah. A lot of our problems are rust related and emissions. Look for rusty holes and rusty frames. It's insane that I think there's only 14 states in the U.S. that require cars to be inspected, and each one of them is different. New York, it's all about emissions. You could have a rusted out car that you can see through the bed. And that'll pass fine as long as the emissions are good on it. Vermont, rust, emissions, safety, of course. New Hampshire, it's a lot of rust stuff. But the state of Vermont screwed himself for 18 months when they allowed people to inspect their cars if they had a check engine light on. They did that because the way the inspections are now done, as I said, it's all on a tablet system. So they take pictures of anything that is inspection related that's wrong. Ball joint's bad, broken windshield, list goes on and on. And it's one of those things that if you take your car to another shop, they put in your VIN, all those pictures come crashing up into your into their tablet systems, and they have to verify that everything's been fixed, which can be very expensive in the first place. But if you have a shady mechanics place, saying, is it easy to find someone to pass inspections for you? No. They did away with that when they went to the tablet system. Each inspection station is expected to fail a certain amount of cars, because then they know that they're supposedly doing their job. If if a shop passes everybody, then I mean and you can't get a sticker without doing everything on that tablet. So it is nearly impossible to, slip somebody a 20 like you could 3 years ago, and buy yourself a sticker, because it's all computerized. It's all. But anyways, state allowed 18 months worth of people to drive the cars with the check engine light on, passing, and now as of January, I think it was 15th of this year, that's no longer the case. So now if your car has any sort of check engine light, it's, you got to get it fixed. And for some cars, it might not be a huge issue as far as the actual emissions and what it's doing to hurt the environment, but it's a very costly, process to get something fixed. I think the emissions, the evap canister on a Toyota, you have to like drop the gas tank, you have to drop a bunch of other stuff. I mean, it's pretty insane. So I'd very much like to not have to do inspections, but it's also a cash cow for the state. They know everybody's got to do it, and they charge out the nose for it. Before they did all these changes, you could get an inspection all day long, $30. Since they changed it, you're looking at 60, 70, $80, and that's not a good thing when you live in a state that's got a very low income population anyways. Here in North Carolina, you take it in, you get inspected. If it fails, you got 30 days, you fix it. Yep. No, we don't even have that. If you fail, you're done. You've got to. There's no grace period. If it fails and you're driving around with a car that doesn't, that's failed, you're driving around with an uninspected car. I mean, that's the way most things happen here, anyways. Jason, thanks for stopping around. I really appreciate it. Classics, anything before 1980 or 1996, so 95 and older, you still have to get a safety inspection, but you don't have to worry about the emissions. So brakes, all that sort of stuff, that's something that even older cars still have to do regardless. There is a bill in the Senate right now, Vermont Senate, that is going to do away with inspections on cars older than 10 years, which I think is not the greatest idea, because 10 years is where you're starting to get into cars that, with our rust problems and the lack of people actually taking care of their cars, you rarely do get into some issues of really unsafe cars being on the road. But as far as like a classic, I mean like the Zelda, whatever. Your vehicle has to be 30 years old. I mean, it would be nice if we did here kind of like what they do in other states where you have a an antique plate. I mean, we have an antique plate, but there's lots of restrictions that go along with it. I'm not sure about other states, but I thought Pennsylvania, you could get an antique plate, and you just had to you didn't have to worry about your inspections and that sort of stuff. But I don't know. Inspections are not fun around here. Someday I'll actually maybe go through and do a video just on that. In Vermont, running an antique plate, you can only drive the car so many miles per year, and you can only drive to and from events like car shows and that sort of stuff. Can only drive so many miles with an antique plate. Yeah. They also do like a street rod plate. I'm not sure what the difference is there. Trying to think what else. Same here with those restrictions. Yeah. I'm not sure what I know that Pennsylvania has one just because I've seen one of Street Speed's friends has a pickup with the antique plates on it. Virginia, I know, does antique, but I'm not sure what their whole deal is either. What I think is the coolest thing with classic cars is having a license plate from the year the car was made. At least for me, when I go through and do my car show videos, that's it really depends on the cop. That's very true too. Sometimes you get a sympathetic, police officer, and sometimes not so much. I've been very, very lucky with that sort of stuff. So, okay. Well, anyways, we're getting up to about an hour. I don't like to go much beyond it, so I think we're gonna call it here. I really appreciate you guys coming in and talking, and this great conversation at the end. We'll make sure to do that again. I'll try and do some more research on our different plates here, and the whole thoughts behind the inspections, and if you want to learn, know more about that. Otherwise, have a day, guys. Hopefully it's a good one. Take care.